Albert Einstein who said either all of this is a miracle or nothing's a miracle.
I hope we end up finding out it was Shakira.
Hello and welcome to Cleopatra. I'm Christy Bana.
I'm Lynn Molly, and we are two Middle Eastern queens digging up the funny from the first generation experience.
Our guest today, I'm so excited to introduce you to her. She is a writer, a comic, and she is the host of the Deep Thoughts Shallow Person podcast. Give it up at home in the privacy of your own car and or dwelling for Nthenya from Kenya. Woo, woo, woo. God. How are you doing today other than being the most punctual guest we've had so far? Including us.
I'm doing great. And thanks. I feel very honored as a person of color to arrive early. Here's the thing. For people, I'm giving away a secret of my own, I guess, is that I arrive early for people of color. I make white people wait. I know it's not right.
It's like a micro-reparation.
But it's like a micro-reparation. I'm like, you can wait. You can
15 minutes, you're allowed. You get a cushion.
Be fine.
I love that. We're just telling everybody that there's CPT just so that we can gain some leverage. Somehow it's a power play.
It is. It's a power move. I'm like, oh my God, you were waiting?
So sorry.
I love hashtag micro-reparation. Go viral.
That might be our first merch.
Yeah, absolutely.
You heard it here first, everybody. Micro-reparations.
I need it.
Okay.
I want the shirt, a baseball cap as well.
Okay, great. Mugs as well.
Oh, well, I feel like mugs aren't going to reach the audience that I need it to reach. So maybe like a travel tumbler.
Jet setting.
So that I can set it down and people can see it.
While they listen to our podcast in their car.
Amen.
Yeah.
What's another micro-reparation? I think like Gloria Elise Mora, who was a guest a few weeks ago, she talks about how like her elite status on the airlines lets her skip white women in line. So that could also be.
Oh my gosh, that is one.
That's
Yeah, that's a good one. The micro-reparation that I use that I might not be allowed to use, it might get canceled, oh my God, is I wear my husband's military jackets.
Oh.
Often places, especially when I travel, because it's really
You're just dressed as a U.S. Marine.
I'm just like out. Yeah, I'm just like reporting for service, and people all the time will be like, "Thank you for your service," and sometimes I don't correct them because as a Black woman, I'm like, "You're right. You're so."
I support that.
I have voted correctly.
Command some respect.
Yeah. I was just like, you're right. It's not the right service, but you are absolutely.
You're performing a service.
Yeah. Just not the one that you thought I was performing.
Not the one you thought. Not the one you thought. Thank you.
But yeah.
You are a woman in uniform right now. Yeah. It's your utility jumpsuit, and I respect. Amazing. So Miss Nthenya from Kenya, I know bits and pieces about your background just through our conversations and through your comedy, but I'm wondering if you could take us back as far as you want to go, parents, grandparents, whatever.
Okay, so I have a confession to make. I'm a fraud on your podcast because I'm technically not a first generation.
Okay, well, it's called a fraudcast now.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were going to say I'm actually white.
I had this really cool treatment.
We'd need a macro reparation for that in that case.
I had the reverse of Michael Jackson. I had them insert the melanin. My family, I was born in Kenya.
That technically actually counts as first generation as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of argument over that.
There
I was going to say, people have literally fought me for it. They've been like, you're not. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, no. So it's kind of the phrase biweekly, where some people say biweekly means every 2 weeks. And some people, you know what I mean? Biannual or semi-annual can mean either every 2 or... So first generation, I guess we've never addressed this before, what actual first generation means. But basically, it can be people who just immigrated here, or it could be people whose parents were. There is dispute.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Put this online and there will be comments.
Yes, absolutely. What does first generation mean to you? Descendants from the Mayflower only get to comment on this. And we only want to hear your opinions. Hashtag engagement. Hashtag micro-reparations. Okay. Sorry.
I can't wait to read the notes.
Lynn and I are the queens of preemptive trolling where we're like, come at us. And like, no, everyone's like, we don't care about you. We're not even watching. And we're like,
so worried.
oh man, this is going to be so controversial. And everyone's like, we don't even know who you are. Who are, literally made one comment that was like, who are these people?
Hey, that's
and
engagement.
I'm like, yeah.
Honestly, I responded and I was like, I don't know. Who are we? Please.
I love it. I love it that you're preemptively creating these conversations.
Yeah.
You know, you're creating like the playing field for people to argue. And I love it.
LA's most defensive podcast.
Yeah.
I feel like meanwhile, like a white man will say the most offensive thing you've ever heard and not at all worry that anyone will find it contentious. And then we're like, oh my God, did we say that like chocolate ice cream is better than vanilla? Oh no. They're coming at us.
I know. We should just say what we want to say and be like, like they do. Ooh.
I'm going to sound clip that. And that's going to be like a shock jock, like those disc jockeys. They'll be like, and then we'll go, and then.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm sure that so far this podcast has been really enjoyable to listen to.
Yeah, nobody knows
you to be on.
and nobody knows anything about me. They're like, "Who is this person?" She claims to be Kenyan. Lies, the lies.
Okay, so now that we've established that you're not a fraud, you fall under the category of
thank
people whom we wish to interview.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm so grateful.
Okay, we'll shut our mouths.
So I was born in Kenya. My mom was kind of under the impression that she could just bust out a couple babies, go back to her career and her life. And, you know, she was like, oh, I'm ready to have kids. Me and my husband want to. Let me just have those and then I'll just like go about my business. And so when I was 2 years old or a little younger than that, she left us. She moved to Canada to do her master's and her PhD because she was like, I'm out of here. I have kids. I'm ready to go.
Set it and forget it.
Okay.
Yeah, set it, forget it. She was like, boom, boom. It was like a checklist is how she describes her life, that she was like, okay, did that thing. We got married. I love this person. I'm going to have these kids. I'm going to, cement my career. And then she was gone from us for a while.
How old were you when that?
So I wasn't even 2 yet, I don't think.
Okay.
Wow,
And
that's really young.
And my brother was barely 3, if 3. So we were really young when she left. And it was very traumatizing for her and for us as a family. So the following year, my dad sold his business, sold the house in Kenya, and we all moved to Canada.
Oh, wow.
When I was almost 3. And then we lived there for about 7 years, almost 8 years. And we moved to Charleston, South Carolina when I was 11.
Wow.
Throughout like middle school and high school. Went to college in Miami. And then after that, I ended up here.
Wow. So you're a double immigrant like Aisha. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did the whole Canada first, which was very interesting because in my mind, I wasn't ready for America. Like America was like, oh, there's this place. Like even in Canada, it feels sort of like this myth or like this mythical,
really?
Like you're like, oh my God, in America, like there's this, not hype, but I guess kind of like hype. And I don't know if you've experienced this with like your family members, but they're like, oh, America.
Everything's better there.
Yeah. There's like this grand
propaganda.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
So when we were in Canada, we were just, living our cute little lives, nothing too crazy or spectacular. But then we were like, oh my God, we're moving to America. And then that was obviously.
So you were excited about that.
Yeah, I think I was naive, as an 11-year-old, you're like, ooh, I'm going to go live in America where all the famous people are, like you sort of think, you're like, ooh. And we were moving to South Carolina. And the only thing I knew about South Carolina was nothing. And
was that it was south?
It was south of North Carolina, which is where Michael Jordan was from. And that was it. And it was like, oh my God, maybe we'll see Michael Jordan. Like there was no.
And you did see Michael Jordan everywhere you went. He's at the grocery store.
Met him. Yeah. It was like, oh my God, there he is. Oh my God, there he is. It was like, welcome to America. There's Michael Jordan. There's Oprah Winfrey. There's, there's Beyonce. There's everybody. Like,
is there a Kenyan community in Canada? That's a tongue twister, but
a Kenyan community in
And what part of Canada exactly?
So we first moved my mom went to Queens.
Okay.
So it's like right outside of Toronto.
Okay. Toronto's very diverse.
Yeah. We were lucky enough to always be in really diverse communities. And also my mom is a college professor. So I grew up on a college campus my entire life. So I was lucky in that sense of there's always been a very diverse group of people around me, despite what could be going on socially or, you know, otherwise. Because definitely like moving to South Carolina was a massive culture shock. But because my mom had such a great rooting or foundation in, you know, like academia, it didn't feel as jarring to move to South Carolina.
So why did they move?
My mom took a job there.
Okay.
So the choice, we lived in Canada for a while, and then my mom was offered a few jobs. She was considering, there were multiple places. She was teaching in Namibia for a while, which is very close to South Africa. And then she was also considering a job in Singapore, and I think another job in like Europe, and then Charleston.
Wow.
My dad had obviously, like, he'd given up everything for my mom. Had sold his business, moved to, you know, Canada, you know, was an immigrant, almost deported. Like, there were just so many things that happened. And so I think for them, like, looking where she decided to take a job, she was considering, like, the entire family. And the fact that we had just moved across, you know, the continent, or, you know, like, the world, essentially, to Canada. It was like, oh, do we go to Namibia where she had been for a year, or do we go to Singapore where we know nothing and no one, or do we go to Charleston, South Carolina, where it's not that far from where we're at right now? We also have family in the U.S. So she ended up taking the job in South Carolina.
What I'm loving about this story is how much of your mom's career was the driving factor. I feel like it's so often the dad's career that's so incredible and inspiring.
Yeah, it is. I think I didn't realize how different it was until much later in my life, that was unique. I always thought that, again, growing up on a college campus, I saw a lot of women's careers who, you know, like their careers were first. I got to see just the dynamics of people's relationships in different ways. It's sad that it's so bizarre that my dad was so supportive.
But I also see this in you so much. Like, I remember seeing you at comedy shows so pregnant. And, you know, you had the baby, and I saw you again back at the shows. Like, was your mom an inspiration in that regard?
I think so. I'm careful to say if she was an inspiration for stuff, because she has so many opinions about my life that I'm often like, would she want me to feel inspired?
That's funny.
In this moment, like, was that what she was trying to inspire me to do?
Reverse psychology.
But yeah, I think so. I've never seen a reason to stop. Like, I know I've had friends who, you know, got married after college and they stopped working, and that was a choice that they made for their lives. And I'm not, you know, judging them, or if that's what they want, they're happy. I'm happy. But
is her opinion of what you're doing, like, does she suggest that you might take a more traditional role, or how is it?
Oh, I think my mom would love I think any foreign parent, like, they just want you to be stable. They're like, I don't want to worry so much. I think the thought is, like, they gave up so much for me, and they wanted me to have opportunities, and the opportunity wasn't stand-up. That's not the one they were looking at. That was not the one that they were like, ooh, okay, we wanted you to have a lot of opportunities, but, like, that one is, like, a hard one.
That is such a common theme as we're talking to a lot of comedians here, is that so many people are like, my parents gave up so much for me, and they sacrificed so much so that I could have all these opportunities. And then I let them down because I ended up doing this unstable career and ended up following their dreams. So, like, the irony is that I would have never had the freedom to explore frivolity and creativity and whatever else that, you know, even though one could argue, if you're buying into the old Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like, the self-actualization is the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're thinking about those like stages of self-realization, it's like, that's the ultimate honoring of your parents. Obviously, they don't say it that way. Yeah. Obviously, they're like, no, I'm sorry. Let me clarify. What I meant to say is I want you to take care of me when I'm older. I don't want to be supporting you as a broke 75-year-old comedian. Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. My mom's like, I just want to make sure that you're going to be okay and that I'm going to be okay.
Right. What I find is interesting is you would think that the reason that they don't want you to have these careers is because you're being vocal or you're being inappropriate. But across the board, that hasn't been the complaint from the parents. It's really just that they want you to be stable.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, you know, it's kind of, I like that we're kind of shattering opinions here about the immigrant parent as, you know, someone who's kind of silencing you, because that doesn't seem to be the case. It really is just we want you to thrive. We want you to have a home. We want you to have running water.
Yeah. And I can meet my parents there, you know, like I can understand that. That's not something I can't comprehend. I'm like, I'm
Take
aware.
a photo of your water bill every month. And be like, look, Mom.
Hey, look, I paid it. Now being a parent, like I recognize the fear, even though he's 18, you know, he's like a year and a half. He's not getting a job anytime soon.
Yeah. Not for at least 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Not until, right. But I mean, I understand it, but it also makes me less concerned about him, which is probably not the way it's supposed to go. But I'm kind of like, I just want him to live a life, like enjoy, like whatever it is that he chooses to do. I just want him to have fun doing it. Like I'm grateful for the sacrifice my parents have made for me, but I think moving forward with how I want to parent is I'm making the sacrifices for my child, but I don't want them to know the sacrifice. I don't want him to know. I want him to just exist, to not have that burden of like, oh, my parent, like they sacrificed for me. It's like inherently, yes, you will sacrifice for your children, but that shouldn't be
you can't hold that over their heads for their whole life.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't immigrate to a different country for them.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of people put on their kids, like, do you know all the things I sacrificed? And it's kind of like, oh, I didn't tell you to leave me. But at the same, I mean, obviously, having said that, I very much honor and appreciate everything my parents have done for me.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Oh my God. I know. Roll them credits.
Roll them credits.
Because they're amazing. They're amazing people.
Right.
But I'm so
but it's
grateful.
unfair to like hold that over your child's head for their entire existence and create this expectation.
Yeah. And not like it's a bad thing to know that family members have sacrificed or worked hard for you to be where you're at. But yes, no, I don't want them to carry it.
Just out of curiosity, because I don't have a child, is there like a small part of you that's like, I hope my child becomes this one day?
I don't have any kind of vision
I love
for him. Like people will say things about him, and he loves the camera. Which is a funny thing. Like even when he was like in my body, we'd do the ultrasound and he would face the camera. And it was terrifying. No, because they're not cute inside.
He found his light in utero.
Yeah, no, literally.
He knows his
The
angles.
ultrasound technician, she would be like, oh my God, there he is. There's, you know, like, because he would turn to camera.
Wow.
Stop.
Every time. Yeah. And then he's in daycare now, and we just had his school pictures. And that was the first thing everyone said. We're like, oh my God, he was so amazing. He took the best pictures and he was so cute and he was just on and he looked and he even put his chin down. And I was like, oh my God, what a diva. But no, I don't. There are some things I'm worried about. He loves cars in a way that kind of freaks me out, because I'm like, oh no, is he going to be like a race car driver?
Let's get this midlife crisis out of the way. He's been eyeing a Lamborghini.
Like and he likes to go fast. Like he has like this a buggy, like a little thing, and he likes to get in, and he wants you, if you don't push him fast enough, he gets upset. And I'm like, oh my God, he likes speed. He likes to go fast. And that of course makes me nervous, but I'm like, okay.
You going on stage so much while pregnant meant you raised a little adrenaline junkie. And no, I'm just kidding. Do you
probably
maybe do you still get like a rush or nervous or like anything when you get on stage?
I definitely still get butterflies. I definitely still have nerves. because I care.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good
And
thing.
It means you can still feel. A lot of comics say, like, the minute you stop being excited or nervous, you're dead. And it means you can still feel something in this business ashes cigarette onto a microphone.
Right. Well, I'm going to live forever then, I guess. I'm trying to shift the energy because I have a people pleaser gene, I think, or not gene, but just sort of reactionary because of having to meet people constantly all the time. There's hi, I want to get, I want you to feel welcome and I want, you to like me and I want us to get along. I don't want there to be any trouble. So I'm trying to shift that energy when I go on stage because I don't want it to be that. And I'm still I still get nervous, but I don't want the energy to be like, I hope you like me. It just is like, oh, okay, totally. I'm meeting new people and that is nervous, but I don't want it to be, I hope they like me or, oh, they didn't laugh at that joke? Uh-oh. I don't want to feel like I'm in trouble when they don't like something.
Right.
Yes. That's the energy I'm shifting.
I think it's more incumbent upon women also to be likable first and foremost above anything else. And I do I think once you get
past that,
more settled and or just the most seasoned female identifying comedians, I think, and successful kind of don't give a fuck. And they're like, my number one goal is not to be palatable and likable to you. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to tell the joke. I always love to be essentialist about the different burdens that male and female comedians face. So I'm sorry for being reductive if that's, but I'm only saying this because I also felt and still feel a huge burden of likability.
I feel like I spent, because we've talked about this a bit, we both grew up in very white worlds. And I think a defense mechanism was just bending to everybody's needs. And I'm still recovering from that. I'm sure you relate. Yes.
It only occurred to me 3 weeks ago that people pleasing is not a tenable survival strategy and being perfect at all times is not a tenable survival strategy.
Yeah. Same. Oh my God.
3 weeks. What were we doing 3 weeks ago?
Right. Yeah. We came to the same realization together. Oh my God.
Amazing. Must have been that full moon. So stupid. So let me back up really quick. So you moved from Canada and then to South Carolina. And I would like to know, what were you studying and what precipitated the eventual move to comedy, to entertainment?
Even when we lived in Canada, I was always trying to get into the arts. It was auditioning for whatever I could get my hands on, which is not a lot when you're a child. It was I would find, in Canada, there was a thing called YTV. I think Aisha was on that.
YTV?
It's called YTV. Yeah, youth television. Oh. And they were scouting, the elementary schools, trying to find the next.
It's like Mickey Mouse Club?
Kind of, yes, okay. yes. And they have just kids doing little things. They would be we're doing a swim lesson. They were just kids showing other kids how to do stuff or whatever. And I found a poster for that and I really wanted to do that. And my parents let me go to the first audition.
Wow.
And I didn't get a call back or anything. And I don't know if I was disappointed, and that's the reason my parents were just well, maybe she should not be in this career field or whatever, but I still wanted to do it. So anytime I found stuff, I would be oh, I was an extra in The Notebook because I sourced it when I was in, they filmed in South Carolina, in Charleston. Gosh, so I was oh my God, I'm going to find their production office. And I would just
look at you, you hustler.
Since day one.
You found the production office and you were hello, I'd like to submit my resume as a child to be an extra.
And they were okay, you could just be an extra. They're you just have to get this paper signed.
Sweetie, it's a very low bar.
Right, yeah, they were you're 12, it's fine. Just sign this stupid, get your parent to sign this paper.
That's so
Cut
funny.
to you walking into Steven Spielberg's office being I want to be the lead in this.
Okay,
and he's
can I
okay.
be the lead? Yeah. But I knew that my parents didn't want me to do that as a career. So it was always, I could do it on the side if I do all my homework and I'm, ready for school in a way. I played music as a kid, so I wanted to go to an art school, and I got in, but then my parents didn't let me go. So I ended up going to an academic school that primarily focused on academics. So I got to do a little stuff outside when I found it or somebody told me about it. But I kind of just grew up with the understanding of that I was never going to get to do it for real, that it was just going to be something that I got to do for fun on the side. And then I was in college, you know, like preparing to go to medical school. And I had the worst year of my life. Like just everything fell apart. And I don't know why I'm going to get emotional now, but everything fell apart that year. Just like even like my friend circle, I got fired from a job. It was just a really hard year, and it like forced me to look at myself. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to be unhappy for the rest of my life if I go to medical school. Like I knew it. Wow. And I was supposed to take the MCAT in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I was like, if I walk in that room and take that MCAT and pass, I have to go to medical school. My parents will never let this go. Right. And I'd been preparing for so long, and I knew I was going to do well. So I pulled taking it. Like I withdrew taking the MCAT, and oh my God. I mean, my parents were just like my mom was freaking out. Like, what? You were right there, you know, like just like right on the precipice of.
But you knew when the point of no return was.
Yeah.
What a testament to like that self-knowledge at such a young age that you were like, I know that if I take one more step, that's it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I knew. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be a doctor. That's it. That's it. Like I knew that was the moment. I had to walk away.
I had no idea you were pre-med. I didn't know that about you.
Oh yeah. Biochem was my major. Psychotic.
When you're on the wrong path, the world will tell you. Like everything will tell you.
Yeah.
It's probably why you had the worst year of your life, because everything was telling you like, this isn't good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, oh. And after it was, I mean, I went into my senior year in college being like, all right, I don't know what's going to happen now. Like picked up an acting minor. I was like, all right, I'm just going to focus all my credits on acting and not even, I didn't even think that I could do stand-up. I didn't think that was a job that was possible. I was just like, I'm going to act. And I think I know how to do that. I think I know how to get in that space. And then when I realized that stand-up was a job, I was like, wait, you can do this? Like people.
When did you realize that?
Oh, I already lived here. I already lived in LA. I was doing improv and acting at the time and writing. And I joined an improv team here in LA. And some of the people on my improv team were also stand-up comedians, so I'd go to their shows. And I was like, oh, that's cute. This is just another thing they did. And most of them were stand-up comedians and improvisers and not actors. And so I thought to myself, I was like, oh, this is how they train. They train by doing stand-up and improv. I train by doing improv and acting. I didn't know that. Still, in my mind, that wasn't a job. And then a good friend of mine was doing stand-up, had been writing and performing for a while, and she had asked me to just like go over jokes with her. So I would we'd meet up weekly, and she'd run her jokes by me, and we'd like, you know, I'd punch them up, and she would perform them, and that was fun. And so then I started doing that really regularly. Like we'd meet every week, and I'd listen to her jokes, and I'd punch them up, and then I'd go watch her perform. And I really enjoyed that. And then she quit doing stand-up.
Oh, wow.
My mentor quit stand-up. It's so unsettling when this happens.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the best advice they're giving us. I don't know.
So. Yeah. So then she quit, and I was like, what am I going to do now? And I didn't do anything for a really long time. And then a friend of mine who was also a stand-up coming up in it, she'd invited me to an open mic. She was like, why don't you just go? And I was like, you can just go? You don't have to like. She's like, yeah, you just sign up and you pay $5. You just do it. And I was like, you can just do it?
Right. And surely there must be some barrier to entry.
Yeah. I thought there was like, you know, like an audition. I was like, you don't have to like, nobody has to see your material first. Like, what? And so I went to the first open mic. It was Solar de Cahuenga.
I used to go there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was my first mic. And I was like, oh, Copy, you can just do that.
And then you realized how low the bar truly is.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you could literally walk off the street and do this. And it actually made me like it more. I was like, oh. anybody could do this if you're good.
I think that's the most beautiful thing about stand-up, because I know the world I grew up in was so insular and everybody felt the same way and everybody was the same. It's the same demographics. It's the same. And then I started doing stand-up and I met people who live in their car, and I met people of every race, of every belief. And like, I know
the first time I met a poor person was when I started doing
But it's true. It's so true. My world has been so insular up until stand-up.
Yeah.
It was like I went to a white school in an affluent neighborhood. Then I went to a college that, you know, was, I mean, I had a scholarship, but was $30,000 a year. So going to stand-up, like it was, I didn't have diverse friends, and now I do. And my world is so much better because of it.
Right.
Oh, wait, where did you go to college? Now I'm curious.
I went to Emerson College, the whitest college in America.
Emerson.
Yes.
TM. It's their slogan.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
It is, I think Princeton Review rated it the gayest, though. So we at least had that.
Yeah.
Good.
Is it Emerson that has like a really amazing like music?
No, they have like a really good film and theater.
That's
and
what it is.
They're the first college, I think, don't quote me on this, to have a comedy major. They just started it.
Ooh.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know
All the
what they teach
professors
you.
have retired, much like all of our mentors. No.
I wonder
And
every
now they
day.
teach at Emerson.
Am I? Are we qualified to teach
I think
a
so.
college class in stand-up?
so.
I think so.
I think so too. I just met somebody who did their PhD in comedy. and
No.
said, at
What?
Yale.
Dr.
At
Comedy?
Yale? I'd like to know what the curriculum is.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine sending a
Let's get him in
booking
here.
DM being like, hi, I'd love to do your show. I have a PhD in comedy.
Dear the Comedy Store, I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor. I've traveled the world. I know what's funny.
I've done a regression analysis, and statistically, I'm funny. Actually, here you go. Have I gotten a laugh? No, but look at this dissertation.
I
you
once
imagine?
heard of a comedian who would keep spreadsheets of all his sets, and he would write down how every joke went and like how long the laugh response was, and he would do like calculations to like measure his jokes or something. And I was like, that is so, I feel like, counterproductive to
I was like, do I know this comic?
humor. No, I don't think, I don't
Would he
actually
do it by geographic location? Would he adjust for the fact
You
of
know-
how many women versus men, how many people total, what time of day? Like, there's so many variables that I call bullshit. That's somebody like who wants to do more analysis than actually fucking writing their shit.
To me, comedy is also so like intuitive, like to like it's an art. Someone also once told me that they don't think of stand-up comedy as an art. They think it's just a formula, and once you learn the formula, you can be successful. And I was like, oh, that's like reducing this like art form, this
Yeah.
self-expression. For me, it's so like fluid and comes out of my life, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, there's a formula. You can reduce everything to a formula.
Sure.
You can reduce a multicam sitcom
Mm-hmm.
to a formula. You could reduce a lot of things to formula, but the fact to purport to like have figured it out and to have
Yeah.
mastered it and then now be a doctor because you've done the formula. No disrespect to Dr. Comedy, whoever he may be.
Oh,
is it a woman?
Here's the thing. I mean, I don't know if this person identifies as Dr. Comedy, but I love the fact that they were able to hustle a prestigious university
That's true.
out of money and a degree solely based on an interest they had. I'm like, wow, I want that power.
Yeah.
I too want to hustle a very prestigious university into giving me money so that I can go work on my stand-up and like talk to people and figure out what makes them laugh. I mean, oh my God, sign me up.
I will accept it if there is an anthropology component. If you have to like
I
necessarily.
think there probably is one. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, how much would our immigrant parents love it if we had a PhD in comedy? Oh my God. They'd be like, oh, comedy's okay. Yeah, it's okay now. You have a doctorate? Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But as long as there's a doctor in front of my name.
Oh my, Doctor of Comedy, a DC.
Yeah.
So then you started because you had a friend that you were punching up their jokes. There's no better feeling than suggesting a tag or a punchline and having it work, and then somebody working it into their regular act, and you're just like,
Yeah. That was probably the best feeling. And what was nice and very different was if she bombed, I didn't feel it.
It's the perfect crime. I
like,
feel no shame.
Right,
You were the one who
I was
decided
like,
to
okay,
use
it didn't work. You know, like there was no, like, I didn't feel the feeling of bombing. And it wasn't until of course, I got on stage and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel good. Yeah. Oh, that's not a nice feeling. But before
like
I was
sending
like,
a soldier out into the war and being,
I was like,
being
try
behind,
this.
you know, you're like, it's not me. You go ahead. Oops, that tactic didn't work. Oh, well, next time I didn't feel it. Sorry to get political, but comedy is war is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, shots fired. Missed
me.
But not me, you know, I didn't miss, she missed. And then we got to talk about it. And I was like, oh, why do you feel like you missed?
Why do you feel you
my
failed?
great suggestion? Which clearly wasn't good because it didn't work.
How long ago did you
Say what I want to
start?
Say. I started in 2016, the end of 2016. So it's been about 6 years.
That's around when I started.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Were we at Solar together?
Probably. Honestly, I remember that's where I met Pallavi, who we had on this podcast too.
Oh my gosh. I think that's probably where I first saw her too.
Yeah. And she was like doing her like biomedical engineering homework and then like went up and did her set.
Yeah. I remember seeing her and being like, oh, yeah, her parents must be so proud. She's doing both. I was like, I just said no.
But what a great act of self-service. I mean, I say this like every podcast, but I'm like, what a great way to honor yourself and set the terms of your own life. I think one of the biggest, my cousin Steven was like the biggest supporter of me, shout out cousin Steven, to helping me like make that big leap, because one of the things he said to me, because he made a big shift from, he was working in entertainment, but leaving this really cushy job. And he said, other people can say, hey, go do this, go do that. You should become a this, you should become a that. And you can follow everyone's advice. But guess what? They don't have to suffer the repercussions or anything that happens after you made that choice. You are the only person in charge and the only person that's going to suffer. And I know that sounds so basic, but that floored me when I heard it like 4 years ago, whatever. And when he told me that, I was just like, yeah, you're right. I can just do this and try to please my parents or stick with this because it seems like a safe path. But I'm the only one who has to suffer the consequences.
Yeah. But you were in a career already.
Right.
Do you feel like that at least was at like proof though? Like you're like, I can do this thing.
In
Clearly,
fact, I don't think
it.
I would have been able to do comedy without being a lawyer first. I would not have had, I would say like, I would not have had the intellectual confidence. I would not have had the public speaking skills. I don't think
financial stability.
The financial stability. And also just the confidence of just, oh, who do you think you are? You think you could go up here and be funny? And then I realized like I've done a lot of hard things. I've argued before a federal judge. I can certainly go up in front of a bunch of 20-year-olds.
Idiots.
Who are,
I'm sorry.
Your word.
Geniuses.
Savants. They prefer.
Yes, please edit that to say the savants.
Yes, we will edit that in along with your noise.
Did you have a past life career before stand-up?
No. I like in that moment, I knew that if I had another alternative, that most likely would be something that I did. And I don't want to say that in hopes that like somebody listens to this and is like, okay, no plan B. Like I think you should absolutely figure out a way that you can sustain your own life. And I knew how to make money. Like I knew that I could take care of myself in a certain way. Like I was like, okay, I know I can put a roof over my head. Because when I decided to not go to medical school anymore, my parents were like, okay, we're not going to support you. We're not going to help you. So instantly I was like, I got a job. I figured out how to sustain myself. And I knew that was going to be important because of the path. And so I've always used my other skill sets in ways to cushion the blow of not having such steady work.
So I think this is a good time to pivot to some questions that we have. The first question is, Cleopatra saw herself as a living goddess. When was the last time you felt supernatural or goddess-like? Or alternatively, do you have any weird or useless talents?
I have plenty of weird or useless talents.
Okay.
We'll start there. I always tell my husband that I should have been like a scale because I can tell how much stuff weighs. Like I'll just look at it and be like, that's half a pound. That's,
you could have worked at a carnival and guessed people's weights.
Absolutely. Ooh. Like just weird shit like that. And it's like ounces too. I'll be like, that's 3 ounces. Like just
I'm sorry. Okay.
I wish we had a scale right now to put this to the test. Yeah, next time you're back.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I will say is a small flaw of this podcast, which I shouldn't be saying now, is that anytime we ask for a weird talent, 9 out of 10 times there's no way to like immediately.
Yeah. I'll send you guys a video. Okay. I'll have like Trey put something aside and like then I'll like say how much it is.
Yeah. Perfect. That's better than you saying though, you know what's the problem with this podcast? It's not good at all.
No, it's amazing.
No, I love this podcast.
Me too.
Yeah, I love it. Oh wait, and then what was the other question you had?
Oh, it was weird useless talents or a time that you felt supernatural or goddess-like.
I guess I don't know if this counts as a feeling for me, but when I was pregnant, people would say the weirdest things to me. It was like, people would be like, oh my God, you're making a person. Oh. There were like so many people that were like, wow. When you're like so many men would be like, wow, only God and women can do that. And it was like such a weird, like, okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I was like, you're so powerful. He's like, look at you making a life. Like I remember I was in this Uber ride closer to my due date because my husband was like, you can't drive everywhere. Like you need to, don't do that. And I was like, driving. But this one night I decided to be good and I was going to a show. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get an Uber. And I got an Uber and for like 45 minutes, this man told me about how I was essentially God. And it was such a weird feeling because I have never felt like raw, like powerful in that way. But it was like for somebody to tell me how powerful I was and then be like, yeah, I am making a person. And I but then also be like, but it's not just this. I'm a powerful, like people are powerful. Like we're kind of amazing as just human beings. Yeah. So that was kind of fun.
That's huge. Yeah. Every now and then you have those moments where you're like, hang on.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder every day. Just the fact that we get up and exist is an incredible feat.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Is it Albert Einstein who said either all of this is a miracle or nothing's a miracle?
I hope we end up finding out it was Shakira.
As the late, great Avril Lavigne once said, why'd you have to go and make things so complicado? Oh, man. Okay.
Cleopatra wasn't actually Egyptian, we found out. She has more kind of Grecian roots, but she moved to Egypt and embraced a bunch of the customs. Mm-hmm. So is there an American custom that you super embraced, or alternatively, is there a custom that you have not been able to shed?
Probably be Halloween.
Ooh.
I feel
Which is, yeah.
Yeah, Halloween I feel like is a very like American, like...
But it also has a lot of, like Dias de los Muertos, and there's a lot of other, it's like a cobbled together of lots of other cultures.
It is, yes.
Which is a very American.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something that's been pieced together. I would say that's the one I probably enjoy the most. It just is fun, and you get to like I grew up in a Christian household, so there was a lot of like, oh, well, that's ungodly. Right. But I'm just like, it's an outfit. You could relax.
Favorite costume ever?
I was the Grinch one year.
Ooh.
That was probably my favorite one because I was so unrecognizable. Like I did the prosthetics and everything.
Oh, you full green face.
So full green face, full like I had fuzzy fingers. I was like furry, and I went in it all day.
Oh no. You became the Grinch.
So I was like out, just like grabbing coffee.
Did you
like
forget?
Like I was just in and people would be like, ah! And then like some kids got really excited and that was fun because I would forget that I was in it and they'd be like, oh my God. And I was like, really cute. Yeah, I'm the Grinch. And then I would pretend to be mean to them. Just like, so that was fun.
I had a fun party in law school once where we all said dress up as what you probably would have been had you not gone to law school. And my really good friend Jill and I both dressed up as mimes. And we were like the whole night and we were just having a good time, dance party. It was so fun. Everyone came as like, I would have been a vet or I would have been a this or like I would whatever. And then at some point the house ran out of beer. So we're like, oh, let's go to the 7-Eleven. We'll pick up some beer. And we were dancing so hard that we're so sweaty. And then before my friend Jill goes in, she's like, do you think they're going to think it's weird I'm all sweaty? I was like, no, I think they're going to think it's weird that you're dressed like a mime. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we just started laughing because she forgot she was dressed like a mime, and so did I. And it wasn't Halloween, which is the best part about it. So it was just like, just a mime walks into a sweaty mime.
Walks into a 7-Eleven. Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
That's so funny. You still wanted to, that mime was weirdly subconscious.
Right. I think it was almost an idea.
Performer was a subconscious thing.
But not just performer, like a universally maligned form of performer. Yeah. An ass, like somebody who, is very disrespected. And so like, it's interesting that was the sort of subconscious foil. And I think that was a big part of why I was afraid to pursue comedy, is because there was like a little bit of shame.
Can I ask a question that's off book that I always like to ask my friends, after a long wine-fueled night? If you could do anything and like your body and mind would go along with it, what would you be?
If I could do anything in my body and mind.
Like, yeah, everything just worked out. Because for me, it's ballerina, like no question. Yeah, absolutely. That is the dream job.
I'd be a stand-up comedian.
Wow.
Yeah, that is the...
Maybe this is a sign I'm on the wrong journey and I should be training to be a ballerina.
Time machine. We're all ice skaters now. What about you?
That's so interesting. Probably stand up.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. It's probably interesting that you wanted to be a ballerina and you might not see the correlation, but there is a sort of like grace and performative aspect.
But discipline
of
at the
discipline.
Same time. Ballet and comedy have in common that you have to make something really hard look very easy.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, I did do ballet
and boy, oh boy, I love to fucking heckle a ballerina. Oh, you call this Swan Lake? Right?
You call that a pirouette?
If only ballerinas had to dance while people like ate steak in the front row.
Hey, dance something funnier. Yeah. So stupid.
I need to see this show.
So we know that Cleopatra was a known seductress.
Ooh.
Okay. Do you have any pickup lines or meet cutes or love stories that are your favorite?
I've never been a good, what I thought was flirting. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I was single, I never knew that I was flirting. And this, oh my God, this actually happened this past weekend. It is my fault. I'm just going to go ahead and accept it. I get hit on by women a lot. And I think for whatever reason, like a woman, I was in San Jose this past weekend doing some shows and a woman gave me her phone number. I'm probably too nice in a way that women think that I'm hitting on them, but I'm not. I just want to be their friend. And then, yeah, like retracing this story, because I told my husband this yesterday. I was like, oh my God, this girl gave me her number. And then she called me at like 2 a.m. It's crazy. Ooh. And then I was like thinking about it and I was like, oh my God.
She gave you her number, which means that you gave her.
Okay, long story short, she gave me, she slid me her number. I was doing some shows up in San Jose and I really wanted to see this bar that was down the street because they also had comedy shows there too. And I was like, I just want to like see the venue. So I asked her, I was like, hey, are you from here? She's like, yeah. I was like, have you heard of this bar? I was like, I just want to check it out. Is it cool? She was like, oh yeah, it's really cool. I'll take you there. And I was like, oh, you don't have to take me there. I just wanted to know, if it was cool. She's like, no. We can go, we can go get a drink. And then that's when she gave me her number. And I was staying at the hotel next door. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I was actually like, I was going to go, put my stuff up and get ready. And then I was going to go like later, like, cause I wasn't going right then. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, just text me. And I was like, all right. So I texted her when I was thinking about going. I was like, hey, it's Nthenya, I met you at the bar, I'm thinking about walking over if you're still around. And she was. And so we walked over. And I, just got one drink and she was there and she like wanted to chat. And I was like, oh no, that's when I was like, oh no.
Okay. I've made a huge mistake.
This is a date. Fuck, I walked into another date. And then that's when I was like, oh girl, you gotta go home. So I was like, oh yeah, this is a cool bar. Thanks for bringing me here. There was jazz playing there. It was cute. It was very cute. Yeah. And then I left. I went back to my room and I was sleeping when she called. But yeah, like she stayed out and you know, then she called me at like 2 a.m. and I was like, is that a booty call?
Your answering machine is like, hi, this is Nthenya. If you're calling, I'm asleep and I didn't mean to flirt with you. Please leave a message. I'm so sorry. This has been a huge misunderstanding.
This has been a huge misunderstanding.
The only time you turn your phone on silent is when you're asleep, and it's going to be a booty call.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that is actually what my answering machine should say. My bad. My bad. I'm so sorry.
If you're listening to this, there's been a misunderstanding.
There's been a huge misunderstanding.
We're so sorry for the inconvenience.
Yes. And I would like to hang out and chat, but I also am not going to take you on a date. But like,
Very flattering.
but can we be friends?
Question mark, beep.
It's perfect. Thank you.
You can just use the sound bite from this episode.
I will.
We can record it for you later.
Thank you.
This brings us to our final segment called Dig Deep. This is where we ask the deep questions. Okay. I'll ask the first one. Liz Taylor famously played Cleopatra in 1963. If your life were a movie, a crossover of 2 shows or 2 films, what would they be and who would play you?
I'm literally thinking of this right on the spot. So it'd be like Coming to America, but like mixed with like Everybody Hates Chris.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
great.
And I mean, my dream person,
Everybody Hates America.
and my dream person to play me would be Michaela Cole.
Yes, I love her.
Yeah.
I would have
Our
to
Ghanaian
sign away my whole
queen.
entire like life to her, but like, yeah, she's it. I'd be like,
She's
oh.
come up before in the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's so amazing.
Oh yeah, worship the ground. She like create a cult. I'm there, girl. What?
Question number 2 is a bunch of Egyptians.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, you guys tell me yours.
We didn't actually talk about mine.
We didn't talk about yours. Yeah, we've said mine already, but let's talk about yours.
This question wasn't a question in our first episode. I decided that mine would be a cross between Never Have I Ever and 30 Rock.
Oh, okay.
Never Have I Ever is about first generation brown girl experience, and then 30 Rock is about the TV industry, and I want to be a TV writer. So marry the 2.
You are a TV writer.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I was going to say you are,
Yes,
but
I am.
yeah, and sort of like navigating those places where those overlap.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, girl.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Like
I would watch it.
I would watch it. I'd be like, oh no, she could get fired this week. I'm like, oh, she gonna really air that story? She's going for it. This is the storyline. Oh my gosh, she might get fired. Not a brown girl getting fired. Oh my god, they didn't fire her. Yeah, that would be the whole season.
So the Egyptians were buried with their worldly treasures. What would you want to bring into your grave? And then the second question is, what do you want your legacy to be, or what would you want your epitaph to read?
I mean, I guess I want my cloud. I want my cloud. Like my photos, my cloud.
Oh, your
like,
iCloud.
My iCloud. I'm like, give me my iCloud so I can source.
Bury me in the cloud.
Bury me in the cloud.
I mean, Wi-Fi is like a good thing to bring with you. Like,
Yeah. I want to be able to like look back, I think, I guess. Isn't that weird, girl? Look forward. You did. The afterlife is going to be lit.
I love that. That's what your headstone would read. Look forward.
Yeah.
the afterlife is going to be lit.
The afterlife will be lit.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Instead of RIP, it'll say LIT.
Exactly. Oh my God. Perfect.
But so what would you like your legacy to be? Do you think about what you want to leave behind or how you want to be remembered, or?
I don't know. I suffered a big loss in my life recently, about 2 years ago. And I think with that, I've sort of, like, I thought I needed to have a legacy, or like things that I left behind, or like, oh my God, what if nobody knows that I was a writer or a comedian? And I want to live a happy life. Like, I want to just live a good life. And I want the people in my life to have a good life.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't really need anything.
I'm okay
for
with
a roof.
Yeah.
And my legacy, I think, is if I can have joy after everything I've been through and enjoy my life, then I think anybody can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm okay with not being remembered for generations and generations
Yeah.
to come. Like, I don't need.
In that part too, it's like, oh, the history books are like, now that I think about them in a tangible way like that, I'm like, uh-oh.
I'm sure we'll find out in years from now that even this very sweet conversation was deeply problematic.
Oh, yeah,
in infinite
I'm sure.
ways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, women talking alone.
Yeah, that was the first problem. They open their mouths.
I'm fairly certain that whoever writes the history books is going to excerpt only the phrase "everyone hates America" and then just make that my fucking legacy. And I'll be like, it was in context. I promise. Yeah. It was a
right.
Yeah. Well, we are at the end of the podcast. I have had so much fun. I hope you have too. Where can people find you, Miss Nthenya from Kenya?
Oh my God. I'm on the socials as Nthenya from Kenya. I have a podcast that's coming out called Deep Thoughts, Shallow Person. I'm just outside.
She's out here.
I'm outside.
She's out here in these utility jumpsuits.
In these utility jumpsuits.
She's in the sun.
Hitting on your girlfriend, apparently. You can. It's ThenyaFromKenya.com. It's all the things are Nthenya from Kenya.
All right. And it's with Nthenya with an N, Nthenya. And we'll also include a link in the show notes. That has been our podcast. I have been Christy Bana.
I'm Lynn Molly.
And I'm Nthenya from Kenya.
Please, if you are listening to this, like, rate, subscribe, or follow. We're trying to get some more momentum, and we'd really appreciate your support. Thank you so much, and goodbye.